I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers fade as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state I'll stay.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Course in Miracles in Practice. It's always great to be here exploring the Course together, and thank you for choosing to spend your time with us. You know, it never ceases to amaze me how these lessons seem to pop up exactly when you need them most.
That relevance is uncanny sometimes, isn't it? And today we're jumping into an exploration of Lesson 251. It feels particularly potent, I think, in a world that's just full of distractions and endless demands on our attention. This lesson really seems to cut through all that noise down to something incredibly simple and profound.
Absolutely. And just a gentle reminder, we're on this journey right alongside you, sharing our experiences and hoping it resonates with your own path. If anything sparks thoughts or questions, or you just want to share your reaction, please do reach out. We're on social media at the World Harmony Project, or you can email us at acim@theworldharmonyproject.org.
You know, Lesson 251 is one I personally find myself returning to again and again, especially when life feels cluttered or just overwhelming. It helps reset things.
I get that. Well, let's hop right into the lesson then and see what new insights might unfold for all of us today.
Okay, let's begin with the reading. I'll start. Lesson 251. I am in need of nothing but the truth. I sought for many things and found despair. Now do I seek but one? For in that one is all I need and only what I need. All that I sought before I needed not and did not even want. My only need I did not recognize. But now I see that I need only truth. In that all needs are satisfied, all cravings end, all hopes are finally fulfilled, and dreams are gone. Now have I everything that I could need. Now have I everything that I could want. And now at last I find myself at peace.
And for that peace, our Father, we give thanks. What we denied ourselves, you have restored, and only that is what we really want.
Those words, they just settle something inside, don't they? It feels like a direct invitation to radical simplicity. And that opening line just hits you immediately. I sought for many things and found despair. It's such a powerful, honest acknowledgement of the suffering that's often inherent in all that external seeking we do. You know, thinking the next promotion, the perfect relationship, achieving that goal, that will finally be the thing that brings lasting happiness.
Oh, I can definitely relate. I remember a phase where I was constantly chasing something new. New hobbies, endless self-improvement kicks, trying to optimize every little part of my life. But underneath it all, there was this persistent restlessness, a feeling that something really essential was just missing.
And that restlessness, maybe that's our inner compass trying to tell us something important, trying to tell us that what we're truly looking for isn't out there somewhere. It reminds me of some earlier course lessons, actually, like Lesson 71, Only God's plan for salvation will work. I remember finding that one quite threatening at first because I had my plans,
Right.
My education, my career path.
Right. And Lesson 76 too, I am under no laws but God's. That felt similarly challenging back then. But now, looking back, maybe those lessons were preparing the ground for this one, for understanding what truth really means here.
Looking back, I can see how my own schemes, my own plans, which I thought were leading me towards happiness, were often actually leading me away. I have a kind of funny, not so funny example from my own life. For years, I was obsessed with weight loss, joining and dropping out of this one particular program probably 50 million times. But there was this one year I was absolutely determined. I was going to hit their goal weight, the number they set.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What happened?
Well, my own doctor told me the goal weight they assigned was, quote, unnecessary. But I was so fixated on getting that external validation, that applause from the program leaders. So I went to extremes, starving, then binging, spending hours and hours at the gym, just chasing this number. I eventually looked gaunt, but I still hadn't hit their arbitrary goal weight.
Wow. That sounds incredibly stressful and counterproductive.
It was completely absurd. In the end, I actually needed my doctor to write a formal note explaining that my current weight was perfectly healthy before the organization would even acknowledge me as having reached a successful point. They wouldn't tick the box without that external piece of paper.
So even when you got close, in a way that was medically sound, they didn't recognize it based on their own rigid rules.
Nope, not without the doctor's note. And you know what? The whole sense of achievement just felt hollow, completely empty. My self-esteem was all tangled up in their external system, and my sense of justice felt offended by these arbitrary standards. Naturally, the whole approach was unsustainable. The weight came back on eventually.
That is such a perfect real-world example of what this lesson is talking about, isn't it? Seeking many things, finding despair, and the ultimate hollowness of relying solely on external validation.
My ego was chasing that temporary reward, that celebration from others. It somehow expected that fleeting moment to magically transform into permanent joy. But it was just empty because the hoops I had to jump through were ridiculous and totally irrelevant to my actual well-being.
And it highlights that idea. When we blindly follow external laws, like a weight loss program's specific rules, or maybe broader societal definitions of success, we're essentially saying we don't trust our own deeper truth, our own inner knowing.
Which brings us right back to that incredibly poignant line, my only need I did not recognize. Think about the implication there. Looking everywhere for fulfillment, everywhere except the one place it actually resides.
It makes me think of that old story, the one about the person searching frantically for their keys under the streetlight. Not because that's where they lost them, but because that's where the light is.
That's a great metaphor for it. We keep searching in the familiar, well-lit external places instead of being willing to turn inward into the less illuminated, maybe slightly scarier territory within ourselves.
Yeah, turning inward can feel scary sometimes. It often involves letting go of all that external scaffolding we build our identities around, our jobs, our roles, our achievements.
I think that's where the despair the lesson mentions can creep in. We invest so much energy, so much of our sense of self into these external things. When they inevitably fail to deliver that deep, lasting peace, it can feel like more than just disappointment. It can feel like a real crisis of meaning.
But here's what I find so beautiful and frankly relieving about this lesson. It doesn't shame us for having sought those things. It says, all that I sought before I needed not and did not even want. There's such a gentleness in that. It's not saying we were bad or wrong for seeking. It's just pointing out we were perhaps looking in the wrong direction. A course correction, maybe?
Exactly. It's about recognition and redirection, not self-judgment. Like a river naturally finding its true course to the ocean after meandering for a while.
That's a lovely image. And then it shifts. Now do I seek but one, for in that one is all I need. There's such relief in that idea, isn't there? Instead of juggling 1,000 different pursuits, trying to satisfy 1,000,000 different perceived needs, the focus narrows to just one essential thing. Truth.
It simplifies everything. But then the practical question arises, right? Like, okay, great, seek truth. Sounds inspiring on a Monday morning podcast. But what about Tuesday morning when I'm stuck in traffic and definitely going to be late for that important meeting? How does seeking truth help then?
Yes, the Tuesday morning traffic jam test. It's relatable for me practically. It's become about trying to pause, even for a second, in those moments and asking myself, okay, what's true right now? Not what I wish were true, not what I'm afraid might happen, but just what is the actual simple truth of this moment?
That pause is key, isn't it? It creates that little bit of space. And I find when I manage to do that, the truth is usually much simpler than the frantic story my mind is weaving. Like, okay, I'm running late. That's the truth. And fundamentally, that's okay. I'm still whole. This traffic jam doesn't diminish my inherent worth.
Or sometimes even simpler truths, right? Like, I am here, I am breathing, I am alive. The truth can just be the raw fact of our presence in that moment, which leads into that next part, in that all needs are satisfied, all cravings end. I used to read that line and think, wow, that sounds like hyperbole. How can all needs be satisfied just by finding truth? I think maybe our cravings, most of them anyway, spring from that underlying feeling of incompleteness, like we talked about. That sense that something is missing, that we need to get something from the outside to feel whole. But when we connect with truth, with what's real, unchanging, eternal within us, that feeling of incompleteness dissolves. Not because we got something new, but because we remembered what was always there underneath the seeking.
That's a beautiful way to frame it. It's like the sun doesn't need to go out searching for light, right? It is light.
Yeah.
And maybe at our core, we are that wholeness, that peace, that love we just forget.
Yes. And when you really get that, even for a moment, the frantic need to seek outside yourself naturally starts to subside, which probably explains the next line too. All hopes are finally fulfilled and dreams are gone.
Talk about that connection to peace, because that kind of hoping and dreaming, the kind that comes from a place of lack, it keeps our focus pinned on some imagined future where things will finally be okay. It stops us from recognizing the fullness that's actually available right now.
That's a really important distinction. It's not saying don't have goals or visions, but there's a difference between creative visioning that flows from a sense of wholeness versus desperate hoping that comes from a feeling of emptiness or lack. When you're rooted in truth, your actions can still be purposeful, creative, even ambitious maybe, but they aren't driven by that anxious, gnawing need to escape your present reality.
So it points to a deep kind of contentment, not like a passive resignation, oh, well, nothing matters, but a profound inner satisfaction that actually frees you up to engage more fully and authentically with whatever life brings.
I think so. It's about acting from wholeness. And paradoxically, that probably gives you more energy for genuine service, for creativity, for just being present.
And think about how that changes our connections with others. When I'm caught in that seeking mode, feeling like I need something, my interactions can become subtly transactional, you know? What can this person do for me? How do they fit into my plan to get happy? But when I feel centered in that truth, that inner fullness, I can just meet people where they are authentically without those hidden agendas.
That's such a great point. That seeking mode can be incredibly self-absorbed, even when we don't mean it to be. When you're freed from constantly worrying about whether your own needs are being met, you suddenly have so much more bandwidth to actually see and appreciate the people around you.
And the lesson ends with this beautiful note of gratitude, doesn't it?
That line.
And for that peace, our Father, we give thanks. What we denied ourselves, you have restored, and only that is what we really want.
Yes.
It emphasizes that what we were truly seeking was never actually withheld from us. It was always there.
What we denied ourselves, that really lands for me. It suggests the primary barrier to experiencing this peace isn't outside circumstances or other people or God holding out on us. The barrier is often our own refusal maybe, to accept the peace that's constantly being offered.
It's quite humbling when you realize that, isn't it? Like realizing you've been standing out in the pouring rain, shaking your fist at the clouds, all while holding a perfectly good umbrella right behind your back. The peace, the truth, it was always available. We just weren't opening the umbrella.
I like that image. And yet, there's no sense of judgment in the lesson's tone. It feels more like a gentle correction. Like, Jesus just kindly nudging you and saying, your glasses are on top of your head.
Right. So let's shift into the practical side. How do we actually cultivate this recognition of truth day to day? How do we practice opening that umbrella?
For me, a big part of it is trying to be more honest about my own seeking patterns. When I notice myself getting really caught up in wanting something external to change, wishing circumstances were different, wishing someone would act differently, even wishing my own feelings were different, I try to pause. And in that pause, ask, okay, what am I really seeking here? What's the underlying need? And is it possible, just possible, that what I'm truly seeking is already present within me right now?
That's a really powerful practice. Just asking the question can shift things. For me, I've been trying to incorporate what I call truth moments throughout the day. They're just very brief pauses, maybe only a few seconds, where I intentionally stop the mental chatter and tune in to what's actually true in that exact moment, beneath all the commentary and stories.
I like that idea of truth moments. When you do that, what sort of simple truths do you typically find underneath all the noise?
It's often surprisingly basic. Things like, I am safe right now, or I am loved. Sometimes it's just the bare awareness I am. There's something incredibly grounding about connecting with those fundamental, undeniable truths, especially when the mind is spinning elaborate tales of lack or fear or inadequacy.
And those simple truths, they have this amazing power to put everything else into perspective, don't they? When you connect with that deep sense of I am, suddenly the dramas about whether you're successful enough or thin enough or whatever the ego's current obsession is, they just seem less urgent, less all-consuming.
It's not like the problems or concerns magically vanish, but they somehow cease to be the absolute center of your universe. They lose some of their gravitational pull.
So, as we kind of wrap up our exploration for today, it feels important to acknowledge that this shift from seeking externally to recognizing internal truth isn't always easy. It's not usually an overnight switch. Our old patterns of seeking validation, security, happiness outside ourselves, man, they have deep roots. It takes real patience and a lot of self-compassion as we practice this new way.
Oh, absolutely. This is gentle work. It's not about forcing ourselves into peace or beating ourselves up when we fall back into old habits. It's more about consistent, gentle practice, practicing recognition again and again until it starts to feel more familiar, more natural.
So, maybe it's closing thought for today. Just take a moment, right now, if you can, take a breath, and just connect with that simple truth from the lesson. You are in need of nothing but the truth. And that truth isn't separate from who you are right in this moment. Right now, you have everything you truly need. Thank you so much for joining us for this exploration today. May you find moments of connecting with that deep peace that passes all understanding.
Until next time, be gentle with yourselves and trust the unfolding process. The truth you seek really is closer than you think. In fact, it's the very awareness that's hearing these words right now.
Peace, everyone. Look forward to exploring Lesson 252 with you tomorrow.